And there has been a shocking investigative report by Honest Reporting showing professional photographers from AP and Reuters news outlets were deployed at the border between Israel and Gaza before the murderous attack, where 1,400 Israelis, overwhelmingly civilians, were tortured and killed. They filmed the invasion in real time and possibly with advanced knowledge. We're now joined by Executive Director and former reporter himself, Gil Hoffman. Gil, it's good to have you with us. Tell us what we know about these photographers and their involvement in the events of October 7th.
So first of all, the reporter who gave pictures to the Associated Press, his name is Hassan Asaliach, and has been employed by CNN through most of this war, is someone who's been a terror supporter, very close to Hamas, very close to Yahya Sinwar, its leader, for many, many years. He's someone who is on his own social media, has repeatedly praised terrorist attacks, called for there to be more terrorist attacks. And CNN today suspended him and said he wasn't employed by them on the 7th, but he was there taking selfies with tanks, maybe not immediately. Our report does not say that they were embedded. It raises questions about why, rather early into the attack, he and those who sold pictures to Reuters and AP and the New York Times were there, crossing the border from Gaza into Israel.
So what you're describing there is at least one Hamas loyalist that was acting as a stringer or a freelance photographer. But the question is, at what point did the newsrooms that they were working with know of the attack? And as such, when could they have raised any sort of alarm?
We raised questions about this, and the media outlets have gradually been responding. One of them said that they only bought pictures from them after the fact. They're all giving their different kinds of explanations, but the fact is that they were there. They witnessed terrorist attacks, these people. And instead of trying to stop these terrorist attacks, they photographed them to the world. They did things that were unethical. There was a reporter for Galei Tzahal, Army Radio in Israel, Rami Shani, who was at the dance festival. He stopped being a reporter there, and he saved lives. And there are really strong ethical questions that we raised in our article.
Was there evidence that these photographers knew in advance of the massacre, or that they were simply told, be ready, something is about to happen?
We did not print an accusation that they definitely knew. We printed the evidence in the article. I encourage people to read the article itself at HonestReporting.com or on any of the social media outlets. There are various people with agendas, politicians and tweeters, who've added all kinds of accusations on top of them. And then people are saying, oh, you guys reported that they were embedded. We did not say they were embedded. We raised questions. Were they? We were just wondering why they were there with these pictures so early into the attack.
One of the questions this raises is that of journalistic ethics and who these agencies are relying on for their content. Because if they are relying on people that might as well be Hamas sympathizers themselves, well, how does that taint the image that's going out to the rest of the world?
That's a very, very serious problem. We at Honest Reporting revealed at the beginning of this war that the main guy writing for the Associated Press from Gaza, Issam Adwan, had written on his social media in English a few months before the war that there needs to be a Palestinian revolt and that Israel needs to be annihilated, compared Israelis to Nazis. There's another guy who the New York Times rehired after last year. We've printed that on social media. He had posted pictures praising Hitler, and the New York Times rehired him and said, there's no problem. He broke our rules last year. Now he's following them. He's a Nazi. Now, thankfully, since our report, the New York Times stopped using him as a freelancer. People who call for the annihilation of Israel or praise Hitler, who tried to annihilate the Jewish people, they can be journalists somewhere else where there aren't that many Jews, maybe somewhere in Asia or Africa, but they cannot be reporting about a war that was started in order to try to murder as many Jews as possible.
I mean, when you describe outlets like the Times rehiring people that say insane and frankly evil things like that, it raises the question, are they unwittingly hiring people like this? Or if they know in advance like that, is it witting?
They knew that Suleiman Hiji posted pictures of Hitler last year, and they wittingly decided to rehire him when this war began. And those who think that that's unacceptable, as we at Honest Reporting do, should hold the New York Times accountable. And I think we saw with the hospital misreports that Israel bombed a hospital and killed hundreds of people, which turned out to be so far from the truth that they need to really take with a grain of salt what they're reading in even the most reputable media outlets regarding this war.
Going forward, how do these media outlets ensure that they are honestly reporting and not simply taking the gospel of terrorist sympathizers or enemy agents themselves?
They absolutely need to make clear to their readers and their listeners and their viewers that Hamas is a terrorist organization that has repeatedly given misinformation. So anytime they say anything from them, whether it's the amount of dead people, the amount of dead children that there unfortunately are, nobody should believe these numbers. Nobody should trust anything coming from them. The media outlets need to say, we got these from an organization recognized around the world, United States, European Union, as a terrorist organization officially, so people won't believe that.
Well, thank you very much, Gil, for a look inside, under the hood of very unethical practices and some very pressing questions.